Let's do this. Hey, welcome back to the Be Happy Now show. I'm sitting in a Zoom room with some of my friends from our Soul Connection coaching community. Danielle, Julie, Stephanie, welcome. A few other, I am hearing myself double up there. And a few others will join us whenever they get to do that, even as a replay. So, what we get to talk about today is how to release the have to, that obligation, the sense of serving other people or dividing our attention in a multitude of ways, or having to handle or declutter any chaos around us, or whenever we may have a list of ongoing things to do, but then all of a sudden we don't have anything to do. So that, like, oh, but the thought pattern of, but I have to be doing these things, or that just lowers our vibration. The have to definitely lowers our vibration. And we'll get to explore 3 different steps so that you can release that obligation to someone else, to something else. Not that all of a sudden you won't have responsibilities. That's not really the goal here. Rather, we're inviting you to be able to see the little joyful things in life so that it doesn't feel like life is a to-do list, or like life has to have like that life has to have you be on it all the time. That's like being on edge. And I don't know about you, but just saying that stresses me out. So this episode is really helpful if, when you have nothing on your to-do list or no obligation, that you don't know really what to do. We're going to talk about that. If you've been feeling like your energy stays in like the lower vibe of shame and guilt and fear, even anger, more frequently than the higher vibes of courage and willingness and joy and love and peace, then we're going to also explore how you can maintain that. Like, what's at the root to helping you to maintain that? And if you usually think about joy for other people, right, but not for yourself, I hear that a lot, that joy can be a priority when it's for someone else, when you're showing up for someone else, for your clients, your parents, your family, people who need you, because our ego gets very flattered when someone else feels good in our presence, right? When someone else gets validation or gets to appreciate us, it's like we're being flattered. So I don't blame you for, if you resonate with this, that bringing other people joy actually helps you, or you think that you're on track doing that, except that maybe you find yourself not always knowing what joy for you is. And then that just has you feeling not replenished, or maybe drained, or on autopilot and dull. And that doesn't allow for creativity or motivation. I know some of you are very creative and you have projects, you have ideas to write, to create something with your hands, to cook, to play with imagination and creating a business, or creating partnerships, or creating events, or creating a transformation in some way, or an activity or an experience. And when we are feeling dull, when we don't know what joy is for us because we're focused on, dividing our attention onto everyone else, well, then we hardly create. And this might not be like your all the time situation or reality. It could be that sometimes you're just realizing that you get into these patterns of, oh, there's a slump now. I have a slump of, I'm staying in these low vibes a little bit more, and I can't seem to see whenever I got off the wagon, whenever I fell off track, to staying on this train of joy and of putting myself first, and of being able to feel replenished and create. P.S. I'm not saying that this is the standard for living a life in alignment, that you always have to be in joy and that you always have to create. If you look at a plant, let's take a cherry tree, for example. The cherry tree, when it's either not blossoming or giving you cherries, it's not dead. it doesn't mean that it's not doing certain work, right? It's just dormant and replenishing from deep inside the soil in the roots. So there's just another level of action and of doing that happens, which I like to call being, because being can be an action, right? Being with what is, being with the season, being with the slump without judging it, being with the season of I'm replenishing at, excuse me, at the roots here. That's an action. It just doesn't have to be full speed, like let me bloom a bunch of flowers or let me provide a bunch of cherries that you can eat, right? I hope you like my analogy here. One thing that I know to be true is that when we're not 100%, 150% sure of why we're doing something, we don't do it. Okay. So when it's about joy for you, for example, or really focusing on yourself, if you don't really know that you're worthy of that, or if you have a tendency of diminishing your worth or your enoughness and putting it on other people, then it can feel like, well, yeah, your motive isn't clear of why you should have joy in your life, right? Or why you get to have joy. It's not clear enough. So your commitment is directed somewhere else. There's an episode of the Be Happy Now show about this. It's how to get motivated, how to be motivated when you don't have enough motivation. So I invite you to find that one if that resonates with you. When we started talking about what joy for others is, and that's because I was inspired by a conversation with one of my clients who pretty much asked, how can I notice if my low vibe energy therefore creates a low vibe choice? And how can I notice when that's happening and find ways to feel the frequency of joy and maintain it? In other words, how can I notice when I'm breaching my boundaries and deciding to pour so much into someone else or pour my energy into all of these other things that I'm doing when actually it's just from a low vibe frequency, or it's actually not contributing to why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's not contributing to being enough. It's not contributing to my joy. So sometimes it's so sneaky because we've been operating with these patterns of give, 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 or do, or go, go, go. And we forget, or we slip back into these patterns, even when we've been actively working on shifting these patterns. So one of the things when we started talking about what joy for others is all about, like why is providing joy for other people a commitment for you? Feel free to write in the chat if you're wanting to share, like why do you want other people to feel joy? What would open up, like what is accessing joy for other people providing you? And in turn, the question of like what would accessing joy for you open up? If you could access joy, choose it after feeling through emotions that may not be joy, what's there? What's opening up for you? And one of the things that came up were answers like, it would expand my world, it would expand my energy, my health. It would also help me feel more creative and feel like it's not just about obligations and schedules. Like I would feel, yes, joy in return. Thanks, Julie. Exactly. So you would, by accessing joy, you would feel joyful. Then it's like a ripple. Joy, more joy, more joy, more joy. It's almost like if you start your day thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be a horrible day. Well, chances are you're going to see everything that's not working in your day instead of things that are, right? I'm not saying that it's easy to shift this mindset really fast and that as soon as you choose joy, you will always choose joy. Hey, we're human. And one of the things that I practice myself and that I keep sharing and coaching my clients with is choose again. You've chosen joy. Now you're choosing to be sad and to eat popcorn and watch Netflix. Great. Once you've chosen that with awareness, then you can choose again. If you're choosing to show up for someone and block everything out in your calendar and just show up for this person, do it with awareness. if that really brings you joy. And then if you're noticing that it's depleting your energy, then you can choose again. There's always an opportunity to choose again. And that's the dance that we play in coaching. We consistently play with choosing again. And that's one of my goals. That's one of the purpose and mission that I have, especially when you're in one of my coaching containers like the Soul Connector Circle, because in SCC for short, we help you to choose again consistently, and you are supported through the circumstances of life, through the chaos, through the division of your attention, to just keep practicing, keep flexing that muscle. You don't have to wait until the muscle is flexed to come for coaching. You come to coaching to flex the muscle, right? You can, I'm happy to share more about the Soul Connector Circle later, but you can also go to soulconnectorcircle.com and come even for a drop-in to our next monthly envisioning session and try it out for you, for yourself. Okay, so when we were talking with this client about joy and how it would expand in her world if she could choose joy for herself, she said that one of the things that came up for her, which we coached on, to access joy, she said, I'm going to schedule it. I'm going to schedule things that bring me joy. All right. So the mind thinks about organizing. The doing mind is like, okay, I'm just going to put it in my schedule. Except I got news for you. If you plan for it, for joy, like you plan for meetings, you may not find it. If you plan for joy, like you plan for meetings, like you plan for the things that are having you fall off track, that are having you not prioritize yourself, then you may not find joy there, because it's like forceful. It's pushy, right? It's like any forceful attempt really to joy might leave you feeling disappointed, because you're like, this has to happen in this way. And it has you feeling like something's missing, or you're doing something wrong, because scheduling equals expectations. Joy doesn't follow expectations. So you can be structured in the amount of time that you spend, right, in meditation, or you can be structured in how many pages you'll journal for, or how long you're going to sit and ask your intuition for a response. But structuring joy doesn't really work. Unless you've tried it and it has worked consistently, let me know. Okay. But it's different, right? It's structuring joy just doesn't work. So here's where we start in our 3 steps to release the have to, I have to feel joy. I have to get over this. I have to get away from chaos. I have to declutter. I have to take these actions. I have to see the joyful things in life. That doesn't work. The first step is the awareness that there is structure in general. Okay? Because when we play inside a structure, we play inside a container, inside the lines of a soccer field, for example, we play inside a structure for everything. Even on our computer, we watch TV on a screen. It happens there. In our house, it happens inside the 4 walls. On our calendar, it happens on a 24/7 structure. There's structure for everything. And there's no room for evolution, even on the energy frequency scale. Let me explain this. Awareness of structure will open your eyes to how helpful parts of it are and how unhelpful other parts are. So from there, you get to take decisional power back. Okay. So my invitation for you, step 1, is to be aware, where and how do I live with structure in my life? Because that's part of the have to. The have to lives in I have identified this as a structure for me, that it has to look this way. Oh, I have this book. I have to finish it. Oh, I have these cards. I have to use them. Oh, I have this glass of water. I have to chug it. Any have to is defined by a structure and by our evidence of the past and how we may have been taught that when we play on the energy frequency scale, so say you're in that low vibe around shame, guilt, fear, anger, that is in the zone of disconnection. Okay. I call this the zone of disconnection. And that's real science where these emotions have frequencies. They have vibratory frequency, vibratory energy that has it be a low vibe. Like when you go to a concert and you have the very high, let's say you go to a rock concert and then you have the sound in your ears, like that is very, very loud. And it can bring on emotions of stress because it's very fast paced. And whereas if you listen to more calming music, the frequency of it will be higher, closer to joy, closer to connection. When you rise above 200 hertz, you reach the zone of connection. That's above courage. That's where courage and love and joy and peace and awareness, that's where that is. Willingness, that's where it lives. So when we play in a structure, let's say you're like, I have to reach higher levels of energy. I want to feel joy, so I have to. That creates an obligation. Hence, it is contributing to the energy of contraction, hence the energy of disconnection, the energy of separation, the energy of othering, the energy of what I'm doing is wrong, therefore I need to have it better. That doesn't work. So when we're aware of the structure, even in our way of thinking, oh, I have to get there, by therefore it can be dismissive of how we're living our lives. It's like, I want you to reach your goal yesterday, me, but the way you are doing is not good enough. You really have to work harder. You have to raise this energy frequency scale. You have to have more joy in your schedule. Let's schedule it. It's like getting out the whip. And I'm sorry, but that's not joy. Not for me anyway. Does this resonate with you? Am I like, let me know. The second step in releasing the have tos, right? So the first step was being aware of the structure in general. And the second step is recognizing which structure form feels tight and constrictive in the body. Because there may be structures that feel expansive and constructive. Like for me, a structure is going with my menstrual cycle. I'm glad this resonates with you. Thank you. Going with my menstrual cycle in my business, meaning when I energetically and physically know that my body inside my womb is starting to contract, it's an invitation for me to go within, to slow down, to rest, to plug in, to plug my battery. And when I do that, I want to have more space in my schedule. So my structure is the flow, and that is supportive for me. If, for example, your structure feels like I've got this, I have X amount of space in my calendar for meetings, for clients, for activities with family and friends, and that serves me because I have noticed in the past when I go beyond this amount of time that I don't feel so much in alignment. So perhaps that, I've got this structure, this is my sweet spot. Perhaps that is in service for you to outpour your energy and to put it in your calendar, because it's like, putting the open sign on your business or on your door in your energy. I'm open for business, whether you have a business or not. But this may feel expansive as a structure. What may not feel expansive is when you start saying yes to business or giving requests outside of the structure. So if you're saying, I'm going to work Monday to Thursday from 9:30 to 6:30, however, whatever, I'm going to take an hour lunch and I'm going to keep my Friday open. But then people start requesting you, booking things in your calendar for the Friday. It's your decision, and you get to notice that if someone asks you to put something in your calendar for a Friday, for example, and then you feel all tight in your body, well, that can be an indication that, that's constriction, that feels tight. Then I'm outside of my structure. I get to say no here. right? Hence, actually, you're saying yes to yourself. Where this pretty much the I have to doesn't equal I get to. And I get to equals joy. And this takes a little bit of time to train your brain, your thought patterns, your speaking habits of how you see joy, because it's just that I have to is so accustomed to the way that we talk for most people. And I remember at the beginning when I started practicing this and really saying, I get to lead this training today. It's so easy for me to say that now. And at the beginning, it felt a little bit stretchy. Like, oh, I get to. No, I have to. I put it in my calendar. It's not a have to. It's not an obligation. It's not something that I'm bound to. It's something I want to do and I get to do it. And that for me has me vibrate at that level of joy because I get to do it. I see we've got Marianne who joined us. Hi, Marianne. Thank you for being here. We're having the first portion of this training as the Be Happy Now show recording. And we're going through our 3 steps to release the have tos so that you can find more little joyful things in life. And I'm just in the middle of the second step right now. We're going to go to the third one, and then we'll open up the Zoom room for a coaching exchange. So thanks for being here. It may also not feel expansive or constructive to have that structure of have to in your mind, right? So the have to structure is really linked to judgment. Like I mentioned before, if you're entertaining the I have to, it's telling your few seconds ago self that what she was thinking is wrong. I'm not saying it's saying that all the time, but I'm saying it has an energy frequency of judgment that doesn't take you to good enough, because it's like, you're wrong. I have to do with this thing. That thing is good enough. It's like a hierarchy of good enough tasks that then kind of unravels in, I have to get to this level of good enough in order to have joy. Whoa, there's so many hoops you have to go through in order to feel joy. It's not meant to be this complicated. A Course in Miracles says happiness, joy, and peace are accessible within you at all times. It's not to say that you have to dismiss how you're feeling. It's to say that you get to choose which vibrancy you're going to choose. Even if you're at anger and you're rising to fear, okay, you're still rising. It's not because you're still in the zone of disconnection that it's wrong or that it's not good enough, and therefore that, it's, well, not good, right? You're getting to rise it, and that's what we get to practice. We get to practice this. So let me repeat. I have to doesn't equal I get to. And I get to, in your minds, changing the structure from I have to I get to equals joy. It equals entering the zone of connection on the energy frequency scale. Okay, we're entering the third step. And I'm curious if I have this on my screen that I could just quickly share I'm going to share my screen. So if you're listening to the podcast on Spotify, you might see this video. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, please hop onto YouTube at Coach Claudia-Sam so that you can see the visual that I've got going on here, so that you can understand what I mean. This is the energy frequency scale based on the research by Dr. David Hawkins in his book, Power versus Force. And this is a visual that my team and I have created so that you understand like the zone of expansion, the zone of connection above courage, and the zone of disconnection below anger. Okay. So earlier I was talking about rising from anger to fear, but fear is actually lower on the energy hertz frequency scale, and anger is a little bit higher because anger gives you fuel to access more courage, right? Okay. Thank you. If you want that energy frequency scale, by the way, just send me a message and say frequency scale, and then I'll send it to you. The third step in releasing the have tos and being able to see little joyful things in life. So the first part, recap, was to be aware that there's structure in general, where the structure is, where the have-tos are. And then the second step was to recognize how it feels in your body so that you can start making decisions to go, oh, does that feel good for me? How can it be more expansive? What would have me choose the expansiveness so that you can take action from that place? And that can start in the way that you're entertaining thoughts and having conversations within yourself. The third step is to take your power back. Okay. The next episode, so this is episode 129 that you're listening right now, and episode 130. Let me make sure I'm getting these numbers right. So yeah, we're on episode 129, and episode 130 is about giving yourself permission to take back your decisional power. So look out for that episode. That will be super beneficial in that to support this third step. Taking back your power means remembering who you really are in your heart, remembering who you really are in your heart and how worthy of joy you are. You don't have to wait to feel joy. You don't have to wait until all these levels of good enough are reached. You don't have to wait for your energy to be focused on only in one spot, because that's also the thing of being human. Our energy gets to be divided, and we have choice to keep coming back in alignment. Taking back your power step by step. So you're choosing the one tight constrictive obligation and you're turning it into an I get to. And then you're turning it into something that would fill your cup, because you can't. I'm not saying you can't. It may be more challenging to make a decision that's in alignment with your worthiness when you're judging yourself for not being good enough and you keep giving yourself structures of I have to. It's like you're not giving yourself the tool and the love for success, to feel success. For example, if a structure for you is to have a long-standing to-do list and to just tick off of the to-do list, but that your name and anything that would really support your alignment and your self-care just keeps getting pushed to the bottom of the list and then goes to the back of the list, or you never make it on the list, well, perhaps taking your power back is going, wait, I'm worthy of joy. I'm worthy of self-care. I'm putting this on the priority list. Okay. That is taking your power back. P.S. Time management like this, like just thinking that it's about putting yourself up at the priority list, like there's actually a real underlining root happening here. If this is, a conversation that you're entertaining, I just don't have enough time. I don't put myself first. I put others first. It just brings me more joy. But there's an unserving pattern that's really at play here. And as a coach, that's one of my specialties. I help you see in your blind spot. I help you to identify the things that are unhelpful for you, that are having you continue along the tracks that so far have not proven to support you in being in joy. And we break those patterns in a gentle and loving way so that you can realign. So time management can be kind of a band-aid of like, yep, we think that's the problem. But what can be actually underneath this is that maybe you don't feel that you're worthy of prioritizing yourself, because maybe you don't feel that you're worthy of love, or that you can actually accomplish anything better than what the past has suggested for you. Well, I've got news for you. You are so worthy. You were born worthy. You were born to live a life in alignment in your light on purpose. And anything that keeps you playing small is not supportive to your mission. It's not supportive to being on this planet with joy. We want to break these patterns. So to take back your power, it is to choose you by an incremental shift. And one of the things to take your power back is to access the root of what's going on. Again, not to bash on the part of you that stays stuck, rather to go, here, let me lend you a hand. Let me help you up. Let me help you tune into you, right? Let me help you crack open a little bit. And that's what we do inside the Soul Connector Circle. I would love to have you there. You can go to soulconnectorcircle.com and check it out. There's an opt-in, like I said, an invitation for you to drop in to the monthly envisioning session. So you can kind of see, what does it look like to actually take that action, to make myself a priority, because you know that you're worthy and you get to choose you. And then you could just try it out and see what happens there, and the openness that occurs, because there's so much more happening in the Soul Connector Circle. And this could be just a little way in for you to check it out. Thank you for being here. Okay. I'm so glad that you are here, that you're listening. Share this episode with a friend whom you think might benefit from the 3 steps to releasing the have tos that I shared with you today. And I'd love to hear what's on your notepad, what insights you've gotten. My intention with the Be Happy Now show is that you can receive these free nuggets of wisdom, that these free opportunities to tune into you. And I do these Be Happy Now show trainings where there's also some coaching involved once a month, so that, actually not once a month, but once in a while, often enough, when it does feel good and when there's a topic that resonates with my community. And so there are always some free avenues, some free options. And when we start to invest in ourselves, we start to shift the energy, because we start to believe that we are worthy. And the more we get to work in a gentle way on ourselves, it's like saying, yes, you know what? I'm worthy of success. And when we keep doing the things and the patterns and entertaining the thoughts like I have to, that don't serve us, change doesn't happen, right? Without change, change doesn't happen. So you can, these are free resources for you week after week. Keep coming back. I love it. And if you're ready for a little more, then there's that option too. So thanks for being here. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day, and I'll talk to you next week.